How did we get here? Part 2. We're using the Bible to find answers explaining how and why half the world is under lockdown at the moment. Last time, we began our answer by investigating the origins of humanity and the expectations of our Creator. Now we'll investigate further the nature of rebellion and why it is so detrimental to the universe. The origin of sin. Shocking to many, sin began in heaven. A perfect angel created by God and blessed with great power and innumerable gifts chose to turn against God. Some may ask, why? Well, this is known as the mystery of iniquity. There is no logical reason why he chose this path. Lucifer, the angel of light, was the highest of all created beings. He held a position that had him stand right next to God. He allowed envy to rise up in his heart against the Creator. Subsequently, he engaged in a campaign to overthrow God, accumulating support from 1/3 of the angels in heaven. As a result of his rejection of reason and his determination to overthrow God's domain, he and his followers were thrown out of heaven. By choosing the devil's deception over God's commands, our first parents sinned, opening the door to the world of rebellion against God seen in humanity today. After they sinned, Adam and Eve were removed from the garden, and an angel with a drawn sword was placed to guard the entrance, preventing them from eating of the tree of life, thereby immortalizing sin. God had instructed Adam and Eve on the sacrificial service, which was to serve as a reminder of the consequences of sin, death. Adam and Eve obeyed God's command to be fruitful and multiply, thereby giving birth to 2 sons, Cain, the elder, followed by Abel. Adam and Eve instructed their sons on God's expectations, and they could go to the gate of the garden and see their lost home. One day, both sons offered a sacrifice to God. Abel, a shepherd, brought the required lamb, but Cain, a farmer, brought the fruits of his field. God accepted Abel's sacrifice because it was what he had asked for, but rejected Cain's. Out of envy for this, Cain struck his brother and killed him. Cain's punishment for this murder was to be a vagabond in the earth, and no one was to kill him, else they would receive his punishment. Adam and Eve had another son, Seth, who chose to serve God. The descendants of Seth and the descendants of Cain lived separately for hundreds of years. However, eventually they began to mingle, resulting in a decline in the belief and service of God. As a result of this rapid decline in humanity, God decided to wash the earth. There was one man in the earth who was obedient to God. God instructed Noah to build an ark to save all those who believed in him. After 120 years of preaching and building, God sent the requisite animals to enter the ark and instructed Noah and his family to enter the ark. Then God shut the door. All those outside the ark mocked Noah because they had never seen water fall from the sky and didn't believe it to be possible. After being in the ark 7 days, while the rest of the world was outside living their lives to the full, the waters that had covered the earth before creation came together again, covering the surface of the earth once more. Everyone who disbelieved God's prophet died in the flood. Entering this new normal, God made a promise to Noah, signified by a rainbow, that he would not flood the entire earth with water again. To survive the devastation of this event, God again changed their diet. allowing them to eat of the clean animals. As we see today, the Earth's terrain is now overturned and disfigured. Formerly lush forests are now coal and oil pits. The Earth is in a state of increasing convulsions as the time progresses. Earthquakes and volcanic eruptions occur daily with increasing intensity. The entire climate of the Earth is now changed. The protective layer of water above the sky is no longer there, and even temperature regulation across the Earth no longer exists. Mass amounts of water is gathered in blocks of ice, while other portions of the Earth are hot and dry. After the flood, God instructed humanity to spread across the face of the earth and to be fruitful and multiply. They did multiply, however, because of lack of faith, they chose to stay together and build a city to ensure that they would not be forgotten. The central focal point of this city was to be a tower. This tower was to reach to heaven. It was an assurance that they could save themselves if God chose to destroy the earth with a flood again. God saw what they were doing, and with the level of intelligence and unity in this group, they would have made great strides towards their goal. Therefore, God put a pause to their plans, destroying the construction and confounding their language. This act ensured the dispersal of humanity across the earth. There are still forces in the world trying to undo this division ordained by God in preparation for the final battle in the war that began in heaven. Whose side of the war are you on?